Imagine this. You wake up one day and realize you've been living in a silent prison. Not one made of bars or chains, but a fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of the unknown. It whispers in your ear before every risk, tightens your chest at every crossroads, and keeps you small, safe, and stagnant. But what if you could live without it? Not by numbing yourself or pretending danger doesn't exist, but by facing it so completely that fear loses its power over you. This is Nietzsche's secret, the one buried in his madman proclamations and hammer strikes against morality. It's not about conquering fear, but transforming it. Here's the great contradiction. We're taught fear is the enemy, that courage is its absence. But what if the opposite is true? What if fear isn't a wall to tear down, but a doorway, one that leads to the life you meant to live? Think of the last time fear stopped you. Was it the voice of reason or the echo of centuries of conditioning? Society tells us to seek comfort, cling to certainty, and worship security. Yet history's most vibrant minds, Nietzsche, Jung, the Stoics, warn that this very pursuit is a slow death. So why do we keep obeying? Because beneath the surface, we've been handed a lie, that safety equals happiness, that predictability equals peace. But deep down, you sense the truth, that the greatest suffering isn't failure, but unlived potential. The job's not taken, the love's not confessed, the selves never discovered. And here's the urgent question. What if fear isn't your enemy, but your compass? Nietzsche called it amor fati, the love of fate, not just accepting what scares you, but embracing it as a forge of your strength. The wolf doesn't fear the storm. It becomes sharper in its teeth. The flame doesn't fear the wind. It burns brighter against it. So why do you? The answer lies in a hidden force, one that shapes your thoughts, your choices, even your identity. And once you see it, you'll never look at fear the same way again. Fear doesn't just live in your mind. It's etched into your biology, reinforced by culture and weaponized by time. From the moment you were born, survival wired you to avoid danger. Your amygdala screams at shadows. Your pulse quickens at uncertainty. An ancient alarm system that once kept your ancestors alive. But here's the cruel twist. Modernity has hijacked this instinct. Now, the same mechanism that once saved you from predators paralyzes you before a crowded room, a career risk, or a vulnerable conversation. Society sharpens the blade. Religions preach humility. Schools reward obedience. And corporations profit from your complacency. Nietzsche saw this clearly. The surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently. You've been taught to fear deviation, to crave approval over authenticity. But the deepest wound isn't external. It's a story you've internalized. That fear means stop. That discomfort equals danger. Jung called this a shadow, the repressed parts of yourself you've locked away because they're too wild, too uncertain, too powerful. Every time you silence an impulse to avoid judgment, every time you choose a well-trodden path to evade failure, you feed the shadow. And the bigger it grows, the smaller you become. Worse yet, your brain conspires against you. Cognitive biases like the negativity effect, where threats loom large in opportunities and loss aversion, where the pain of losing stings twice as hard as the joy of gaining, warp your perception. You overestimate risks, underestimate your resilience, and confuse prudence with paralysis. But Nietzsche's insight cuts deeper. Fear isn't the enemy. Your interpretation of it is. Ancient Stoics trained themselves to welcome adversity. Viktor Frankl found meaning in Auschwitz by refusing to let terror dictate his mind. The common thread? They rewired fear from a signal of weakness to a tool of transcendence. So ask yourself, what if the voice saying you can't isn't protecting you, but imprisoning you? The consequences of ignoring this are far worse than you realize. This is how fear silently rules your life. It doesn't announce itself with panic or dread. It operates in whispers, through procrastination disguised as preparation, hesitation framed as prudence, and small surrenders you call being realistic. Look closer. That career you didn't pursue, the love you didn't fight for, the truth you didn't speak, these aren't isolated choices. They're the invisible architecture of an unlived life. Neuroscientists confirm it. Every time you avoid discomfort, your brain reinforces the neural pathways of avoidance. What begins as a single compromise hardens into a personality trait. Until one day, you wake up as a stranger to your own potential. But the damage goes deeper than personal regret. Fear metastasizes into culture. It's why social media feeds perfectionism, the fear of being truly seen. Political polarization thrives, the fear of nuanced thought. Art becomes formulaic, the fear of original expression. Nietzsche warned of the herd mentality, where individuals trade sovereignty for safety, creating a society of last men who blink and love comfort. The 21st century proved him right. Algorithms feed you content that confirms your biases. Employers reward conformity over genius. Even spirituality gets diluted into self-help platitudes that prioritize feeling good over becoming real. The greatest tragedy? You mistake adaptation for freedom. You've learned to navigate the maze so well that you forget you're in one. Like a prisoner who decorates a cell, instead of seeking the key, you optimize for survival when you were meant for sovereignty. Frankl observed this in the camps. Those who lost their why to live quickly perished, while others endured unimaginable horror by holding on to meaning. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your fears are outdated. That social rejection your brain treats like tribal exile, in modernity it births innovators. That failure coded as existential threat, it's the tuition for mastery. You're running Stone Age software in a quantum world, and paying the price in abandoned dreams. But there's a way to reprogram the system. The prison door was never locked. You were just taught to never push it. Nietzsche's answer begins with a paradox. To overcome fear, you must first stop trying to overcome it. The warrior doesn't conquer trembling hands before battle. He acts with them. The artist doesn't vanquish self-doubt. She paints through it. This is a more fati in action, not resistance, but radical acceptance. Step 1. Rewrite the meaning of fear. Your nervous system can't distinguish between a threat to your life and a threat to your ego. But you can. Next time fear arises, ask, is this danger or growth in disguise? Reframe, my body isn't failing me, it's repairing me. Act, do the thing while shaking. History's bravest minds did this instinctively. Kierkegaard called anxiety the dizziness of freedom. Jung saw it as a price of entering the fertile unknown. Step 2. Practice controlled demolition. Fear grows in the shadows of avoidance. Begin systematic exposure. Social fear? Speak your unpopular truth once daily. Failure fear? Aim for 100 small rejections. Uncertainty fear? Make one decision per week with less than 50% certainty. Like Nietzsche's Übermensch, creating values beyond good/evil. You're building immunity through inoculation. Step 3. Weaponize your shadow. That part of you that's terrified, it's also your most powerful. Channel rage into purpose. Insecurity into reinvention. Vulnerability into art. Van Gogh's madness birthed Starry Nights. Kafka's paranoia crafted literary nightmares. Your fears aren't flaws, they're unfinished fuel. Step 4. Build your anti-fear identity. Courage isn't a feeling, it's a repetition. Each time you choose action over avoidance, you're not just doing something brave. You're becoming someone brave. Nietzsche's Become Who You Are isn't passive. It's the act of sculpting a self through thousands of defiant choices. But the final revelation changes everything. Here is the secret at the end of the labyrinth. Fear never disappears. It transforms into the fire that forges you. Nietzsche's most radical idea, the eternal return, asks, what if you had to relive this moment, this life, in endless repetition? Would you despair or rejoice? This is the ultimate litmus test for fearless living. Every choice you make while trembling, every risk taken with eyes wide open, every truth spoken despite the quake in your voice. These are the moments that would make eternity bearable. Not because they were easy, but because they were yours. The final paradigm shift. Fear isn't the opposite of courage. It's the raw material. Like a blacksmith's hammer turning iron into steel. Doubt becomes discernment. Anxiety becomes anticipation. Vulnerability becomes connection. The ancient Stoics knew the secret. The obstacle is the way. Your greatest fears are signposts pointing to unlived dimensions of yourself. That social anxiety? It marks where your authentic voice waits. That terror of failure, it guards your path to mastery. How to live this truth daily. 1. Morning invocation. Ask, what would I do today if I love my fate? 2. Evening examination. Reflect not on fears avoided, but on fears engaged. 3. Life's compass. When torn between choices, ask, which option would I want to relive forever? This is Nietzsche's true gift. Not the elimination of fear, but its redemption. The Übermensch isn't fearless. They're the one who dances with their demons until those demons learn to sing. As you stand at this crossroads, remember, your fears were never jailers. They were the disfigured angels guarding your greatest possibilities. The moment you stop fighting them, they can finally reveal their purpose. Become who you are begins where your fear ends. Now, what will you do with this truth? You must become who you are, where you are going, and the one you are waiting for.